Welcome back, everyone, to Glowing Smile HQ. Last episode was very exciting, and I'm thrilled to see how the rest of this season progresses. Now let's embrace the warmth of the mother and get ready to smile wide. After getting the basics of fears and phobias down, we believe that now you kids are ready to get into some more in-depth information about fear. Fear, while being something that occurs in the brain, also can have physical effects on the cold ones. Some physical symptoms of fear, as stomach pains, chills, dry mouth, nausea, a rapid heartbeat, chest pain, shortness of breath, trembling, and sweating. Different people can experience different symptoms as well. How fascinating and inconvenient that all is. We all know that when everyone is different, it only causes chaos and makes things way harder than they should be. We also observed in the last episode how a cold one may injure themselves on accident just by sheer stress and panic. Another fun fact is that when a cold one gets scared enough, it can even kill them. How fascinating! When a cold one gets scared, something known as adrenaline kicks in and makes the heart beat faster. Now, adrenaline is a hormone in the body that can increase blood pressure and blood flow, leading to that faster heartbeat I mentioned. Now, sometimes though, when a cold one gets too scared, their adrenaline kicks in and their heart can actually begin to beat with the wrong rhythm. When this happens, a cold one can experience a heart attack, which can lead to their death. How silly is that, being so scared that you actually die? Now, we don't have to worry about that with our special helper. We actually installed a modified pacemaker into our friend the cold one in order to ensure that their heart beats the correct way and they don't keel over and die of fright on us. Now, that would ruin all of our fun, and replacing them would be so tedious. Not all is lost for our cold friends though. Cold ones actually have the ability to overcome these fears and phobias through various tactics. For the sake of education, we'll be discussing two of the more successful methods of curing a cold one's fears or phobias. One method is known as systematic desensitization. All right, kids, can you say systematic desensitization?
Systematic desensitization.
Good job! Now, this form of treatment involves a couple different steps. The first step begins with the cold one talking to what it was known as a therapist about their fear or phobias. And you might be wondering, what's a therapist? And I don't blame you. Their job was no longer required once the Great Mother spread her blessing across the country. A therapist was someone who helped people back in the day with things such as their mental health, listening to their patients and then diagnosing them and potentially medicating them in order to help solve all their problems. I'm sure you can see now why they were phased out over the years. When the Great Mother came into power, she blessed us with her warmth and light and erased any of those pesky mental problems that our previous Americans dealt with. Now to get back to systematic desensitization. Over time, a cold one would increase their exposure to their fears in each section. Every session, the cold one would simply talk about their fear. In another, they'd look at a picture of their fear, and in another, they'd handle a fake version of their fear until they worked themselves up to face an actual example of their fear. That's where the name comes from. A cold one works through a system in order to desensitize themselves through their fear. Of course, this only works with one fear at a time, and it's such a long way to get over such a silly little thing. That's why I personally enjoy the second method, used by the cool ones to get over their fears much more than this one. This second one, and much more exciting method, is known as flooding. Not that kind of flooding, silly. Now, this type of flooding is when a cold one is exposed to a vast amount or quantity of their chosen fear or phobia for a prolonged period of time, until eventually they realize that they're okay and overcome their fear. Now, you may be curious, isn't that kind of what we did to our own personal cold one in the last episode? Kind of, but not quite. See, with flooding, it is done under the supervision and care of a professional, like a therapist, and it's done in a safe, controlled environment. What we did was throw a cold friend into an unsafe environment without the supervision of a therapist, since they don't exist anymore. And we did it with the purpose of producing a large fearful reaction, rather than trying to quell that fear. Another question you may have is how we keep our personal cold one fearful and primed for the show if they're constantly going to be put into these situations that cause fear. My answer to this question is that we make it so the cold one is unable to develop any coping mechanisms that could possibly help them. See, when our friend here isn't being used for the show, we keep them in their own little locked enclosure by themselves. Here in this room, they are unable to have supportive or social interaction really. We feed them only when absolutely necessary, and when they begin to drift off or sleep, we give them a controlled shock to keep them awake, like so. See, with all these factors put together, it keeps them nice and frazzled. They are unable to relax properly or think clearly, creating a nice breeding ground for fear to develop and grow so that we can use it to show you kiddos. Though we can't take credit for this idea, it was actually our dearest benefactor, the mother's high priest, who came up with the idea. Aren't they so smart? It's one of the reasons why they're high priests in the first place. Though, of course, the main reason is that the Great Mother hand-selected them herself, and no one questions the Great Mother's decisions.
Are you tired of your skin just not agreeing with you during important moments? Are you looking for a way to cover up all those unsightly blemishes on your skin? Well, look no further than Morpho's new extra strength concealing powder. This new concealer takes care of any blemishes you may have, making them disappear as if by magic. Simply apply powder onto the problem area of your skin, and wow, the blemish disappears like it was never even there in the first place. For extra coverage, Morpho also recommends adding even more concealer powder to the problem area of your skin to make sure your blemishes stay taken care of no matter what. So don't wait, run to the nearest Mart and pick up your own extra strength concealer powder today and make your day great.
Our beloved high priest also thought it would be a good idea for the fear of this episode to be scopophobia, the fear of being watched or looked at. This specific fear was chosen because it gives an opportunity to showcase how we found our cold friend in the first place. In a moment, we will be showcasing the footage of our acquisition of our cold one. It was a delicate operation done over the course of multiple days and had a lot of research and time behind it because we all know how tricky and slippery cold ones are. But we eventually got him. Anyway, let's continue on and roll the footage. At this moment, our dear friend is unaware that they are being observed and considered as a volunteer for our beloved show, so they have their guard down. Or as low of a guard as a cold one can have when in public, since we all know that when we see a cold one, we have one specific task we always need to do. Can you kiddos tell me what that is?
When we see a cold one, we have to report them.
Good, that's correct. When you see a cold one, it is your duty as an American to report them to your local clergy member or acolyte, and they will take care of it. Now, let's get back to the footage of our dear friend. See, now our friend has gotten an inkling that we have our eyes on them and have started to experience what we know as paranoia. The feeling of being threatened or being in danger in some way, even though there is no evidence of it. Though it could be argued that our friend was in danger at this point, in danger of having too much fun. Apologies for the lack of sound in the last couple of clips. You might have noticed that in our last episode that our cold friend has a bit of a harsh vocabulary, which our beloved high priest does not approve of. So we had to mute the clip so you kiddos wouldn't hear those nasty words our friends were saying. Though, now that our friend has so kindly demonstrated the fear for this episode, it's time for me to say goodbye for now. After our commercial break, we'll be playing another part of the history documentary that our beloved High Priest has given to us. Until next time, kiddos, praise be the Mother, and may her presence guide you to greatness. Bye-bye.
Once the new acolytes of the Great Mother had been initiated and welcomed into the glowing warmth, the betterment spread wider and faster than anyone expected or dreamed. Those who once demanded the downfall of the Mother now sang her praises and begged to join those higher, above, wishing to be closer to her. Unfortunately for us, the only one who is granted the ultimate pleasure and privilege of being close to the Great Mother is her first and most beloved child, the High Priest. Below the High Priest sits the first acolytes, the second group to be made better and transformed by the warmth of the Mother. They offer support to the High Priest, following their orders that were whispered to them by the Great Mother. The High Priest also sends the acolytes across the nation to spread the good word. Below the acolytes sit the clergymen and then the devotees. Clergymen are similar to the acolytes, but of much lower rank and only serve individual communities instead of the wider nation. Devotees are standard members of society, worshippers of the Great Mother who have been affected by the betterment, but have no official power in the order or have little to no interaction with the High Priest. They are your neighbors, your teachers, average people like you and me. And what is left is the cold ones. As the betterment spread across the United States, devotees wished to further the reach of the Great Mother, wanting every country and culture in the world to bask in her warmth. Though the High Priest preached a different plan from the Mother, the glowing warmth was to be savored only by the favorite people of the Mother and no one else. Once the High Priest told us of this decree, we began to fortify our nation against the other nations of the world and against those who could not understand the true greatness of the Mother. Now our nation has grown stronger than ever before, now bright enough to be seen even from space.
Lies.